painting.
Any other colors, Anaya? Pink. Pink. I have a feeling you like pink.
Sidewalk art.
What are you drawing, Nathan? I'm drawing a pizza slice.
Hula hoops and hopscotch.
1 foot. Go. Whoa!
The preschool model at UC San Diego's Mesa Child Development Center is all about free choice, within reason.
It's time to clean up, friends.
When it's music time, teacher Natalie Graber has an elaborate system to get her preschoolers from controlled chaos outside to upright and facing forward inside.
I usually give a 5-minute warning every time we do any kind of a transition. That way it's a little easier on the kids. And then as they're doing that transition, I always ask if I can have helpers. Can you help sort those out? Can you and Katie help sort those out together? I've noticed a lot of kids really like to be helpers.
She then uses song.
All right, everybody, put your books on the shelf, on the shelf. Put your books on the shelf, on the shelf.
And familiar phrases and routines.
Can you find a seat, please? Now let's put on our seatbelts.
But even after all that, one boy turns his back to Graber and goes for a Dr. Seuss book. Another stares listlessly into space.
Young children, particularly children younger than 5 years of age, have trouble with cognitive flexibility tasks that we would find really straightforward, really simple.
Gideon Dayak is a UC San Diego professor and studies cognitive flexibility, or the ability to control our thinking so we can switch from one task to another.
We don't drink that water.
He says when young children don't follow demands, it isn't because they're ignoring you or choosing to misbehave. It's because that outer noodly layer of their brain is still developing.
The longer distance axons, the projections from a neuron to other neurons, are getting sort of surrounded by these fatty sheaths called myelin sheaths. And that process greatly speeds up neural conduction, and it kind of reduces noise in neural conduction.
Put another way, it's like insulating the wires behind your drywall to keep the electrical currents going where they're supposed to go. What's also happening is a bit like editing clunky computer code or the first draft of a manuscript.
And the brain gets edited in the same way before birth, during infancy, and particularly in frontal cortices throughout childhood. There isn't a lot of proliferation of new neurons during childhood, but what there is pruning back. There's selective death of neurons that aren't well connected to other neurons, and there's pruning of synapses that aren't contributing to the overall coherence of different states of activation of the brain. So these editing processes are incredibly important in brain development. You know, we think of growth and development as getting bigger, but in the nervous system, it's also really important to be pruning back the parts and cutting back on the parts that aren't helpful, that aren't helping you, be the most efficient nervous system that you can be.
A blank stare or repetitive behavior in children is kind of like the spinning wheel on your computer screen. Their processing speed, that's actually a cognitive science term, is a little slow. Dayak says there are also things adults may take for granted. Kids are still learning to communicate and don't always pick up on body language and voice intonation, and their memories can't take on as much as ours. His advice to teachers and parents: get eye contact, give instructions in small bites, and repeat them a lot.
And what we saw in the classroom was a lot of what we call scaffolding, of adults interacting with kids in a way to help kind of guide and regulate and constrain their behavior. They're doing things to reduce the memory load for children to be able to follow through with an activity without having to remember a lot.
Songs go a long way too. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
I'm hummingbird.